We have a class with CT in March, live class, live training about face reading, age map, and I will give you more information in the end about it. But what I wanted to say is that we are not here to sell you anything, so I want it to be separate. But I want to mention that the early bird price is, or pre-sale is going on right now, and it's very helpful for us if you are booking it now. And I know it's not so easy for you guys, but it really helps us to plan and to know things ahead. So we really appreciate it, and that's also why we make a massive discount on the class, so we can plan and City can plan, and it's really supportive of what we are doing. And City over the years has given us so many free classes, and by himself and sometimes together with other people, and City, your contribution is always great. And so if you consider to join City class about the age map, then please consider to join in the next days. It's really helpful for us. And apart from this, have a beautiful horse here. I think that I'm a horse, so I'm going to listen even more carefully. And I'm not missing a lot of young, I think, usually. So exciting time. Thank you, City, for this, and I see you in the end.
Okay. Thank you so much, Guy, for that wonderful introduction. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank the TCM Academy for hosting us. Thank you so much to Guy, to Patricia for organizing this and putting it on. I'm very excited to talk about the Yongfire horse. The Yongfire horse won't be born until February 4th, and the celebrations begin on the 17th. But I thought we'd get a jump start to kind of understand what energies are coming. And also to understand with the way the chi flows, the way I understand it, it's not like a light switch. It's not like, oh, on February 4th, all of a sudden we're fire horse. We're already starting to get some of the energetics of fire horse, and even in Australia, they're definitely getting it. So my name is CT Holman. I practice in Oregon. It's on the west coast of the United States. I've been practicing for 25 years. I do facial diagnosis and astrology and channel palpation and shamanic work, many things, but I'm really excited to share information on the Yongfire horse. I was a student of Lillian Pearl Bridges for many years, and she was an incredible mentor, friend of mine, and she would always do the forecast every year. Well, when she passed in 2021, her institute, the Lotus Institute, asked me to take over the responsibilities of doing the forecast, and I was deeply honored and very humbled, and I'm very happy to share that today. So we're going to spend about 45-50 minutes talking about the Yongfire horse. I'll be sharing things that aren't in my written prediction. Like Guy said, the written prediction is on the TCM Academy website, and it's also on my website. And we're going to be talking about the energetics, of course, and also the individual animals, what we can expect for each animal this year as well. We want us all to be healthy and happy, correct? So what do you call a well-balanced horse? Stable. All right, so let's get started here. And first, a disclaimer, this is not to substitute a medical diagnosis or treatment. This is for informational purposes only. And I want to begin with mentioning my teacher, Lillian Pearl Bridges. She was an amazing teacher for face reading and also just for the energetics of Chinese medicine, specifically the spirit, which we're going to see in the Yongfire horse a lot of extra Shen this year. And Lillian spoke quite a bit about Shen, and she was able to differentiate Shen and really help people understand who they were and also their golden path. So another teacher I want to mention is my teacher, Master Zhongshan Wu, who I study astrology, divination, calligraphy, shamanic qigong, many aspects of the ancient Chinese medicine, the shamanic version of Chinese medicine, and also the classical version of Chinese medicine. So these are the books, some of the books I use to do the prediction. The 12 Chinese Animals, Shamanic Qigong, Stems and Branches. So I highly recommend Master Wu. And if you're interested in studying Shamanic Qigong or shamanic medicine in general, he teaches all over the world, and he's currently living in Sweden. So let's begin with the Yongfire horse. So every year has either yin or yang, an element, and an animal. So like this last year was yin, wood, snake. but this year is going to be Yang Fire Horse. So let's take a look at the horse energetics. Oh, by the way, what do you call a horse that lives next door? A neighbor. Okay, so for the horse, the direction is south. So this is a summertime animal. This is like the snake and horse are both in the summer. So there's going to be similarities to last year, but we're going to be, it's a month of June. So that's like the energetic for the whole year is like the month of June. That is when the yang energy peaks. That's during summer solstice. So that's the energetic there. And in terms of the nature relationship, it's Master Wu translates it as copulate. So the personality traits, strength, endurance, we're going to rely on these aspects of the horse to make it through the year. It's going to be a very powerful year. Lots of energy, lots of yang, lots of fire. And so to be able to sustain that, we're going to want to use that endurance of the horse. The horse is also very sensitive. If anyone's worked with horses, they're able to read energy and they can really pick up on people's energy. They do a lot of healing with horses. And so there's going to be a sensitivity too that you're going to pick up on. And so last night, as I was preparing for this lecture today, I always try to channel energy, and that's what Lillian would do as well, is try to tune into the energies of the fire horse and see what is really showing up. And so last night I really had a vision of that Shen energy and it surging through my body. And if you take a moment, I want us all just to sit for a moment and take some deep breaths, gentle, slow, smooth and even through the nose. And see if you can tune in to your energy, to your Shen, and see if you can feel it moving through your body. I can still feel it surging. I can feel those, I can see those different colors and sense those different colors within as well. So I'm going to talk more about that in a moment, but that was one of the visions I had for this upcoming year. There's a lot of vibrant energy. That's about those colors, the colorful energy that we're going to be coming up on. The color is red because it is the fire color. Food choices, we'll talk more about the foods in a moment. But how does the horse cook on the range? Okay, so if we look at the earthly branch of horse, Wu, we're looking at the organ, and the organ is heart. The weather pattern is Xiao Yin, so minor yin imperial fire. It's not like the strong fire we had last year. However, because this year is yang, fire, horse, there's so much energetics of fire that it's really going to be pretty lit up this year. The hourly channel, so that's based on the clock, is from 11 to 1. That should be AM, by the way. Or sorry, 11 to 1 p.m. That's correct, 11 to 1 p.m. Heart channel. So it's going to be the heart channel. So we have a lot of heart. There's a lot of energy with heart and a lot of energetics with heart. So we have the fire symbolism, which includes small intestine, pericardium, triple warmer, but specifically the heart this year. There's this spiraling energy, this lively energy, lots of joy and playful energy. What we can see with some of the potential issues, cardiac issues, anxiety, and sadness. So we're going to have a lot of upward joyful energy. What goes up must come down. So what I'll be talking about a lot in these next hour is how important it is for us to extend that moment of joy, to enjoy that versus just being a quick excitement and then look for the next excitement. We want to really spread out that joy. Because really there's so much fun and playful energy. It's like being in summertime. This whole year of 2026 is going to be like summertime. There's going to be a lot of pleasure travel, new things happening, lots of bouncing energy, playing in the pool, this kind of thing. What do you call a horse that can swim underwater and not come up for air? A seahorse. Okay, so some aspects of the fire element, fiery nature, is going to be bubbly, excitement, entertainment, charmingness, imaginative energy. So there's a lot of innovation, imagination energy, and insights. That's a big part of the fire. So this is a wonderful year to really tune in to your energy and to get insights about your path, about your direction. And it's very curious energy, so there's a lot of curiosity, and I think that really is what fuels longevity, is being curious. So if you can really boost your curious energy this year, that would be wonderful. Now, in terms of emotions, we know about overjoy or overexcitement, but what that can create as a reaction in the body is scattered energy. And so that's something that can really be at play this year, is a lot of adrenaline-seeking activities, people trying to find the next best thing, and what it can create is a lot of anxiety and nervous energy. Now, on the flip side of a reaction of that kind of overexcitement adrenaline is going to be over-serious. So some people, they're a little bit scared of all that lively, fun energy, and they become more serious. A perfect example of that would be Mr. Spock on Star Trek. With the pointy ears, that's very fiery. He's a very fiery character. However, you might think, wait a second, he doesn't seem fiery at all. He's so robotic and like a machine. But he actually is very fiery. He just is so worried about being that expressive, lively energy, he went to over serious. So we really want to watch for that as well. Now, you know the common symptomology, but one thing you might not be aware of is dermatological issues. So don't forget that the heart is a lot of times at the root of dermatology issues. So we might see a flare of skin issues this year. So in terms of yang, we all know it's forward movement, it's male energy, it's daytime, sunshine, heat, action. So it's all this fiery movement along with the fire element, along with the horse. So that's a lot of lively energy. Now the horse is also very tenacious. It's able to, it stays with it. It keeps going. It keeps trying. That's what we need to use that energy this year. We want to rely on that energy to make it through 2026. Horses are also very gentle. So don't forget about that aspect this year. There's going to be so much excitement and fun. Don't forget to also soften that energy and tune into your gentleness. And that's when the insights will come. So typically in ancient Qigong practice, what we are doing is we're taking that fire energy and bringing it down into our kidneys. So I want us all to take a moment and do our breathing through our nose, slow, smooth, deep, and even. And you might be feeling that excitement. I certainly am. I'm going to right now try to direct that energy down towards my kidneys. When we bring that fire down to the kidneys, we steam the water of wisdom, and the wisdom rises up. So I want you just to imagine that energetic right now. And you can feel that. So you can feel hopefully your energy settling and those insights bubbling up. Because what can happen this year is if we continue on that real excitement, adrenaline seeking, you'll end up getting in a more irritated space, agitated, potentially arrogant space. So we want to really settle our energy. Remember that we're all one people. We're all these energetic light balls, and we're all this ball of light. We're all in it together. We're all here together as one people and as one spirit. So at any rate, we want to really stay open-minded and really cultivate that enthusiasm as well. So just some take-home points for the year. Yang energy is peaking, and we're going to get a lot of insights. Now, this is an interesting aspect, time with loved ones. So the hexagram for the horse is called Go, G-O-U. And what it is it's 5 yang lines over a yin broken line. So remember, hexagram is 6 lines or 6 sections. And so we have 5 yang lines, that's solid lines, over 1 yin broken line. So what that means is we're shifting. So it's not all yang this year. There's a little bit of yin starting to percolate up. So these last 4 years, and we started with the tiger and then the rabbit, actually 5 years, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, those were all, or that's 4 years, that was all pushing forward with this yang momentum. There was a lot of wood energy in there and a lot of this kind of movement energy. But now when we peak at the horse year, the yang energy peaks, which means the yin starts to return. So instead of just, running, going, now this year is the beginning of slowing down and becoming more introspective. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. This is also a year for innovation, but we really want to cultivate open-mindedness and enthusiasm. We want to stoke other people. We want to stoke ourselves, and we want to stay open and be able to hear other people's opinions. There's such a, it's almost like a disease going across the planet right now, where we're becoming very polarized. And we're so into pointing the finger and blaming and shaming. But hold on a second, no one knows the right answer. No one has the correct answer. We all have our own opinions. And so we want to respect each other, and we want to honor each other and stay away from that polarization aspect. Because the energy of the year can lead to scattered energy. If we get too excited, too rambunctious, we're going to get scattered. So we have to stay grounded, because there is that tendency to engage in the adrenaline activities. Now, there's also pleasure travel this year, and there's lots of passionate energy. One thing I forgot to mention at the top of the class was, if you have questions, please type them into the chat room. Someone from the TCM Academy will collect those questions, and then we'll have time at the end to do question and answer. So let's look at the first thing. That's when the shamans would work with astrology. It's like Guy said in the beginning, it's more than just a superficial, oh, this is a little energetic about the year. They used it to survive. They had to be able to predict what the weather was going to be, so they knew how they were going to live and how they're going to deal with food. So that's the most important thing with a prediction, is the weather. Now, what Master Wu has talked about is, because of global warming, it's becoming more and more challenging to predict the weather. However, I think with this year, it's going to be fairly easy, because global warming is already creating fire energy, and we have fire with the horse. So we're going to have fire. We're also going to have winds, because go can be interpreted as heaven over wind. And so there's going to be a lot of wind this year, which can, of course, breed a lot of fires. So we have that fire energy. We also have summer solstice energy throughout the whole year. So that is an energetic at play as well. So there's going to be, of course, warmer weather, more winds. And just like we saw last year, we saw a lot of warm weather as well. And we're already seeing that emerge in Australia. They're having these devastating wildfires there right now. And that's part of that wind and these fires that are raging out of control. And so we send our love and our thoughts and our prayers out to those folks in Australia. There might be some people in the room today from Australia, if they're really hardcore and they're willing to wake up so early. So last year, let's just take a look at last year to see how what happened, to see what I was saying. So last year I predicted there'd be pioneering and growth energy. I predicted hot and dry weather patterns because of the yin wood snake, and a lot of violence and fighting, that wood energy, lots of fight. So what we saw last year was a significant advancement in AI, which I'm personally not excited about at all. But so AI has really fueled a lot of growth in the stock market, and certainly has really taken over. Let's not forget the energy and water that those data centers take up to be able to fund and support AI. There were also major wildfires in Southern California. There's continued violence in Gaza and Ukraine, and there's this military campaign against drug cartels. So there's still that fight energy in the mix, but that's what we saw last year. So for this year coming up, for the horse and for health, again, I'm going to say it again, we want to really watch that, excitement-seeking behavior and really try to enjoy the moment, stretch it out like taffy. This is going to be a very fun year. We're going to probably see a rise in a lot of comedians and a lot of comedic type energy out there. And you might find yourself, doing more humor and that kind of thing. So in terms of nourishing the yin, we want to do that because there's going to be so much yang energy, of course. We want to ground it. We want to stay centered. So one way to do that is to lie down flat. That's how you benefit the water energy. So to benefit the fire energy, you bounce, you do shaking. And that's not a bad thing to do this year either if you want to help bring some more fire into your life and more of that fun, that passion. but remember to also let it settle. So that's when lying down would be really good. You can also rely on some yin foods like seaweeds, greens, clear broth soup, that kind of thing. So one thing I wanted to talk about was the alchemy of fire. So classically, that's what we're doing in Qigong. Niguan is in the ancient way of saying it, and that is taking that fire, bringing it down into the kidneys, and steaming the water so it rises up. We can use that fire this year to alchemize. And so another vision I had last night when I was feeling that surge of colors and energy going throughout my body, I had this vision. And this is just something that it just came to me. So, this isn't from my teachers, but I was thinking about each person has a purpose. There's the God or the universe or the Tao is coming through each person and expressing itself in a unique way. We all have our unique purpose. I know my purpose is to bring love and light through East Asian medicine. That's what my purpose is. And when I tuned into that, I could feel certain energies and I could see certain colors, and I felt so lucky to be able to play with those specific colors and that specific energy, and it just felt so enlivening. And I felt my body feeling light, and I felt youthful, and I felt that energy really surging. So what I had the vision of is each person has their purpose, and they are able to play with certain light and energy. And I'm hoping that you all can really tune in this year to that and feel that beautiful, unique light that you have within you. That we all share the light, but we each have our own unique rainbow of colors, so to speak. Because this last 4 years has really been about a drive to move and get that momentum built and to move forward out in the world. Well, now it's going to peak. So it's a time to slow down, be a little bit reflective, and see what you've cultivated over those last 4 years. There's been a lot of incredible growth and movement in these last 4 years. So I'm hoping that you can use this year to take a moment and just enjoy all that you've cultivated, because now, and I'll talk about this in a moment, is we are shifting into that more internal energetic. So in terms of foods, we want to eat lighter, smaller meals, because in the summertime, that's what you do. So it's going to be the same thing with this whole year in the Yang Fire Horse. Just in general, eating a little bit lighter, having things like green vegetables, bitter foods. Remember, bitter is the taste of the heart. Lamb and fish. This will help to balance the energies. Now, Master Wu recommends drinking green tea at summer solstice, help to kind of work with that fire energy. And that's a great idea to do, in June. We have June coming up in 2026, but also be helpful to do in the autumn and winter. What kind of horse likes baked beans? A pinto. Okay, so in terms of Yang Fire Horse business aspects, we're going to see a lot of innovations, more AI, and also it's going to be a great year for theater. So remember that fire is about entertainment and playful energy and humor. And so we're going to see more arise in people going to see plays and musicals and movies, hopefully. But what we might see is a different way of entertainment, a different delivery system for movies and shows. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I think there's going to be a change because there's so much shuffle going on with Hollywood right now and with the industry and movie theaters and online streaming and all this kind of stuff. I think there might be a change because we're going to see so much insights and innovations in business this year. In terms of social aspects, I mentioned the pleasure of travel. You're going to want to get out and enjoy the theater, enjoy comedies, this kind of thing. And it is time to slow down a little bit. Even though we're going to feel a lot of this racing, wild energy of the horse, we want to start setting that stage to slow down and have time with loved ones. And also watch out for being over serious. You want to stay grounded, of course. So in terms of relationships, this is a huge passion year, and there's a lot of flirting energy. So fire is really about flirting and this kind of energetic. So we want to cultivate that enjoyment. So again, spreading it out, and rely on the endurance of the horse. Because there's so much passion, there can be a lot of this up and down energy in relationships. So you're going to want to use that endurance and have that overall feeling of love in the mix, of course, as we always want, but especially this year because there's going to be a little bit of volatility in relationships. Now, it's a great year for the tiger, goat, and dog, and I'll talk about that when we talk about the individual animals more, but it's a really good love year for them. What is a horse's favorite song? Purple Rain. Okay, so for the future, like I mentioned, this year, the yang energy is peaking, and we're going to be shifting more towards relaxation, spending more time with family, and we're going to want to do more of our, meditation to really build those insights from the last 6 years. So if we really think about, starting off with the rat and then going into ox, all of that energy was building, but especially it kicked off with tiger, and then it really started to flow. So what I would like you all to do right now, as I go grab my drum, because I didn't have a chance to get my drum just yet, I want you to sit for a moment and tune in to that internal wisdom and see if you can feel your energy that's specific to you and the colors that are specific to you. And I'll be right back. Okay, so another thing that I do in my practice is drumming, and I use drumming for healing. So what I'll do is I'll do my treatment with acupuncture, and then as they're lying on the table, I'll drum over people, and that resonance of the drum is captured by the needles. They act like antenna, and then they take that vibration and move through the channels and help to open the channels and activate the organ systems. So I have different beats that I use. I learned these from my teacher, Toby Christensen. Him and his teacher, Malidoma Somé, created these beats based on West African drum beats for the elements. And you might think, wait a second, why are you talking about African medicine when we're doing Chinese medicine? But the idea is when I studied with Toby and he talked about the medicine wheel for the Dogara tribe in West Africa, Burkina Faso, it's identical to Chinese medicine. So I've been using these drum beats for years, and I found them to be very effective to activate different organs. So what I wanted to do right now is the fire drum beat. I love animal. I'm also a rock and roll drummer, but I want to do this hand drum right now. And as I do that, I would like you to sit, do your breathing, tune into that fire energy, bring it to your kidneys, and steam the wisdom. So we're going to do this just for a couple minutes, and then we'll continue on with the prediction. I'll be talking about the individual animals. Okay, so now that I've got your attention with the drum, let's move forward into the individual animals and how we can work with that energetic this year. So every animal has a secret friend. And so the horse's secret friend is the goat or the ram or the sheep, however you want to call it. So there's that. Then we also look at the triad of animals. So every animal belongs to a triad. So the horse is paired with the tiger and the dog. And so because of that, the tiger and dog have really good luck this year. So does the goat because it's the horse's secret friend. Now the horse has luck if you're turning 60. That's your special year. But if you're a horse not turning 60, you might have some challenges. Other animals that might have challenges here are rat and ox. So it is recommended to carry a goat charm. So for example, for last year, the charm was a monkey, and I carried this little fake jade monkey with me. And so when we have the horse emerge on February 4th, I will switch over to carrying a goat charm. And you can have, it could be a little stone, it could be a piece, it could be like a wood carving, it could be, you know, anything that you find that's a little statue or something of a goat, you can carry. It's for fun, you know, it's just an idea. This is what Lillian talked about with charms, so I'm talking about it too. Now, the biggest question that always comes up when I do these forecasts every year is, what's my animal? A lot of people think their animal is their birth year. Well, that's not the case if you're an adult. So let's take a look at a chart here. When you're born in a year, of course, also a month, a day, and an hour. Those each represent an element and an animal. So you could, in theory, have 4 animals in your chart, just like this woman does. So she was born in the year of the tiger. Her month is dragon. Her day is rooster. Her hour is snake. So when she's a kid, she's her year animal. Then when you become an adult, you become your day animal. So when you turn around 20, 24, that's when you become your day animal. Then when you turn 60 and above, you become your hour animal. So if this woman was 15, she would be a tiger. But if she was 35, she would be a rooster. If she was 67, she would be a snake. So you have to find out what your animal is. Most of you are probably your day animal. So to find that, you're going to need to use an app. It's not an easy calculation. I don't have an app that I recommend. But I just want to make sure you're aware of what animal you are before you start looking at what the individual animals' forecasts are. So please find that out. Okay, so let's take a look at rat. So rat might have some challenges this year. We're going to want to use, you're going to want to use your cleverness and endurance to be able to make it through. So the thing about rats is they're survivors, and they can get into small spaces. They are able to, live in very intense situations. So they have that endurance. That's great, just like the horse has. The difference is the rat is the opposite of the horse. So the horse is peaking with yang, the rat peaks at yin. So the horse is in June and the rat is in December. And so it's a very watery animal. What you can use is your water nature to be able to pull in those insights from fire. You can ground that fire with your water. There might be some challenges because it's such a fiery year and you're such a watery animal. There's a little bit of opposition there, but you can use that to your advantage if you're able to pull that fire down and steam up your insights. Now let's look at ox. Ox is a very spiritually based animal. It wants to always, grow and cultivate, but it's very steady in its way that it does it. It's very purposeful. It has strong intention. And, if you know the story of the animals, the ox was actually in the lead. So what happened is the emperor said, okay, I'm going to put these astrological symbols in the sky for you, and we're going to decide how that's going to be based on who arrives first. So they had to make this long trek, and at the end of the trek, they came to a river. And so the ox starts to cross the river. Well, the rat said, oh, I can't make it across the river. I can't do it. I won't ever make it. It's too deep. And so the ox, being its kind nature, said, jump on my back. And so then the ox went across the river, and right as he was about to get to the other side, the rat jumped off his back and ran forward and was the first in line. So the rat is a bit cunning, and it will get what it wants, but the ox has that purposeful, slow energy. Now there's a challenge for this year with ox because it's such a movement year, such a fiery year, it might throw the ox off a little bit, and it can feel a little bit scattering. So if you rely on that spiritual nature that you have, you can make it through the year and potentially really grow that spiritual energy. So, the thing is, when we talk about good luck, bad luck, I don't even really like those terms because there isn't necessarily good or bad luck. Because bad luck, it can actually end up to be good luck, right? Because if you're able to meet that challenge and transform that situation, that is going to be a benefit to you. So in a lot of ways, rat and ox, you're going to have some challenges, but if you can step up and, step up to the music and meet it, you're able to actually grow and become even stronger. Now, for the tiger, it's a very lucky year for the tiger because remember, it's part of that triad of animals. And the tiger has that passionate energy, harmonious flow. There's going to be a lot of that this year, and the tiger's going to feel it. And it's going to be a great love year for the tiger as well. So if you're not in a relationship right now, there's a very good chance you're going to meet your life partner this year. Rabbit. Now, tiger and rabbit are both wood animals by their nature. And, wood can fuel fire, so there's this kind of energy of generating. But the rabbit, it has this familial energy. It loves to be around its group. And so it's going to have a lot of opportunities for those connections this year. Because like I said, that yang energy is peaking, the yin energy is starting to emerge. It's time for us to slow down and enjoy time with loved ones. And that's something that the rabbit really does like to do. So you're going to get a lot of insights through joy, like, jumping around, hopping around, having fun, and also through the rest, finding that balance of the yin and yang. Can be really great. And then you have really good luck coming in 2027. So that's something to look forward to. In terms of the dragon is an interesting animal for this year because the dragon has a lot of earth energy. It also has that wood energy. And so it can use the wood to fuel the fire for insights. It can use its earth energy to ground. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for personal and business connections. That's part of that wood-earth energetic of earth has the connection and wood is going to really kind of move the business along. So you're going to want to pace yourself in making decisions because you're going to feel this surge of, oh my gosh, there's all this great energy, all these great insights. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Just take a moment, take a beat, breathe, and look at all of those opportunities. Now, we have to remember with every year, the animal is born and it's not, okay, all the energy is here right now. It takes a while for that energy to build up. So, in February, the horse is born, but it's a little baby foal. Then it starts to grow. And then we end up, when we get to like April, May, then it really starts to become more mature. And then in June, it hits full maturity because that's, the peak of the year. So for those decision making, when you're trying to go for that, take time and don't really make a full decision until May or June. That's my little take on that. Okay, so for snake is another fire animal just like horse. So if you look at the bagua, if you look at the flow of the clock, if you look at the animals laid out, you'll see that there's the water animals at the north at the bottom, and then you have the east animals of the wood, and then you have the southern animals of the fire, and then you have the west animals of the metal. Remember that in the ancient way in China, the compass was flipped. So south was at the top of the map and north is at the bottom. So at any rate, snake is up here with horse. They're both in that summertime energy, the southern direction. So you're going to feel more open because you have that camaraderie of fire that you're used to. However, it can stoke your fire so much that you can become scattered. It can be so much flowing energy that it can be overwhelming. So make sure that you're taking time to rest. Remember, snake is really good at just chilling. If you've seen snakes in the wild, they're just sitting there absorbing the heat, and then they can move really quick. So they have that yin and yang balance. That's why, with the ancient way of the animals, it's turtle snake for water, because it has that yin and yang. But at any rate, there's a lot of chance for insights this year, and it can really fire up the snake. Now, looking at the horse, like I said, if you're turning 60 this year, this is your good luck year. This is when everything really kind of manifests and cultivates, and it really is kind of a celebration of your life. You know, you can look at your life as a work of art. I really try to look at that for me. And as I'm going through life, making my decisions, is this really kind of creating a beautiful picture, or is this not such a great picture? And when you turn 60, it's kind of celebrating all of that growth and cultivation and work that you've done over your life. So you have really good luck this year. But if you're a horse and you're not turning 60, it can be a challenge. But like I said before, challenges also lead to growth and evolution. So you can really use that, rely on your strength, get your insights, and then you're going to celebrate a lot of good luck next year in the year of the goat. Goat, this is your lucky year. You are the secret friend of the horse, so you have excellent health, peaceful chi flow. You have a strong sense of support. The goat is also an earthy animal, just like the dragon. And so there's going to be a lot of feelings of, connection and acceptance, feeling welcome, feeling that you belong. It's going to have a really nice feel for you this year, and that's really lucky. Okay, for monkey, so monkey is really in the metal element, the metal triad of elements or of animals. So monkey is, would be the month of August. And so it's, it's that metal energy. You can enjoy the vibrancy of the year. It might excite the monkey a little bit. Monkey loves shiny things. I don't know if you've heard this, but to trap a monkey, you just put a shiny thing in, say, like a tree trunk that has an opening that's just big enough for their hand, but then they reach in and grab that shiny thing. They can't pull their hand out of the hole, and they won't let it go. Monkeys will hold on to that. They're so enamored with the shiny object. So for you monkeys out there, watch out for being too drawn in to the shiny sparkly of the year and getting too excited. You're going to want to utilize that fire to transform old patterns, letting go of things, let go of that sparkle, and instead trade it out for that warmth, that gentle warmth. So like I wrote in my written prediction, we want to think of the energetic of this year as more like embers of a fire, not the raging wildfire. So just, have that energetic of the fire is there, it's warming, it's, feeling comfortable in the hearth, but it's not blazing out of control. Okay, rooster. Rooster has style, and you are going to really be celebrated this year and recognized for your talents and your style, because rooster's the cock of the walk, right? It has all the shiny colors, and that's really the energetic of this year. So it's going to be great. You're going to be celebrated for your fashion sense this year, and this is a great year for fashion. Like I wrote in the prediction, there's going to be a lot of, color and new types of clothing and this kind of stuff. So the thing about the rooster is it is a metal element animal, and it does have a sense of cutting and letting go of things. So you have planning skills, you have the ability to cut things away that you don't need. So rely on that this year. There's going to be a lot of fun, shiny things flying around. Decide what works for you and go with that. And that will really help you a lot. Now the dog gets to celebrate great luck this year because it's part of that triad of lucky animals with the horse and the tiger. And so this is a great year for your intuition. Dogs are very intuitive animals, and you know that they use dogs a lot for medicine. They use dogs to help people understand when they're going to have a seizure or a migraine or whatever it is. So dogs are really great with that, and you're going to really utilize that intuition. So try to rely on that this year and see what insights you get. Because dog, like I said, is earthy, just like the dragon and the goat, and so is the ox, by the way. So at any rate, you're gonna feel some connections, and you're gonna have a great year of love and transformation and a lot of fun this year. You really gotta wag your tail and have a good time. The pig, we're gonna wrap it up with the pig here. The pig is a water animal. It's very loyal, it's very smart. You can use that steady personality and that calmness of the pig to help to ground that fire and gain insights. So the pig can use that. And then there's really good luck coming in 2027. So that's what we have in terms of the animals. Now, as Guy said at the top of the class, I will be doing a class in March on the facial map. And this is something that Lillian taught me. And there's many maps for the face in Lillian's lineage, but this map will be specifically talking about how you can look at the face and see where people have had traumas and where the traumas are going to be in the future. So we look at different horizontal markings on the face. There's different decades like the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and we look at different markings in those zones to see when someone's had trauma. And then we can ask them about what happened to you at 15, what happened to you at 25, what happened to you at 34. And they'll tell us, and then we can use that information to start to get an idea of what patterns are at play. What are their negative belief systems, and how can we transform those? And the reason why I wanted to teach that this year is we can use the fire of the year to alchemize and transform those negative belief systems so they don't perpetuate and keep going into that person's life. Because we can use the age map not only to see where traumas have been, but where they're going to happen. We can look further down the face, like look at their 60s, their 70s, their 80s, and we can see where those markings are and what's coming up for them, and look at what their patterns have been. If we can transform those patterns, then those markings, like at say 65 or 73, start to fade away. And I've seen this in clinical practice. It's amazing. And you know, the idea is all these markings are basically showing where the jing has been compromised. So anyways, that is going to be something I'll be talking about in March. You can get more information about that. Like Guy said, there's a discount going right now, a pretty strong discount. So it's the time to sign up for that. If you want to find out more about me, you can go to my website, Redwood Spring. I have a couple books out. I just found out from my publisher that my shamanism book is going to be translated into Polish. And I saw there's some people from Poland in the class here. So that's some good news for 2026. I do virtual face readings. So if you're interested in that, you can look at my website. So now we're going to have some time for questions. I think I saw a few questions come up. But before that, I've got a couple jokes for you. What kind of horse does Dracula ride? A nightmare. What disease is a horse afraid of? Hay fever. Okay, so Guy, do we have some questions in the room there?
Yeah, we do have some questions. I have to say, I forgot to say something before. Congratulations, Dr. Holman. Maybe not
Thank you.
everybody noticed, but from last year where we hosted CT Holman, we this year host Dr. CT Holman. So congratulations on this one.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's not so clear that somebody in your position and with your experience go back to school to continue their studies and take on another degree, and I really appreciate it, and I think it's great to see you completing your doctorate. So congratulations on this. And
Yeah, thank you so much, Guy. Yeah, it was crazy going back to school. I was so grateful for my kids because school has changed. I've been in school for 25 years. It's so different. But I was very grateful, and the program was fun. So thank you so much for acknowledging that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great. And something about the questions. First, I put the link to your class here, and we will send you an email about it. And I think you gave the introduction, and you can just go and register. And like I said, this is really helpful for both City and for us to know ahead. I think we need to create a class about reading the pillars, because I think every year people get confused with the 60. Being 60, am I 60, am I 61, am I a child, am I an adult? It's almost funny, because I think it's something in the concept. It's always so, it took half of the chat here, so I really don't know even where to go back to it. But maybe we can pull out some of the questions that we see, especially those who are not too specific. Some people went a bit way too specific, I think, for this format, and I think if somebody wants a personal reading, they should contact you. And I don't know if you offer personal readings, but then maybe it's the best way to do it online with you.
Okay.
I would suggest, I don't know if you do this kind of things, but just because people gave us a full questionary, personal questions for the next year, and I don't think it's the time.
Right. Well, every time I do this prediction, it seems like that happens. People, because it was surprising for me when I heard that from Master Wu. I had never heard that before. So it was something I've been working on. But yeah, that's an idea. Maybe we'll do a class on talking about the pillars and how we can look at those and interpret our charts and understand kind of our lifespan too. That could be really great.
Yeah, so let's think about it. But I will read
Okay.
to you some questions I have, and the first one is I like it because it really connects us to with the other side of the world where not everybody join us because of the timing. And Anna is asking, how do we interpret the timing of the new year in the southern hemisphere? Does the next animal year start in February like the northern hemisphere, or at the end of the winter the previous year? So I think the ancient didn't really consider this too much, maybe because they couldn't do Zoom. But you have the possibility to answer this.
Right. Well, from my understanding, that's a great question. From my understanding, it's essentially just flipped in the southern hemisphere. So when I taught in Australia, I had to really work with my mind and like have these charts together because it's opposite. But it's still the new year is February, like for the entire planet. So February 4th, the horse is born in the northern and southern hemisphere. But what is different is the energetics are going to be flipped in the sense that, you know, in the northern hemisphere, February is the beginning of spring. But in the southern hemisphere, it's the beginning of fall. So the whole chart is flipped in the sense that in February, we're really looking at the monkey in Australia, and then in the southern hemisphere. And then when we go to March, we're going to be looking at rooster. And then when we go to April, we're looking at the dog. So it's just different animals. Where, you know, if we were looking in the northern hemisphere, February's tiger, then we go to rabbit, then we go to dragon. So it's just flipped. So I do a lot of work with stems and branches. So that was the big question down in Australia was, well, how do we do this? Because in, you know, say for this month right now in January, it is the month of the ox in the northern hemisphere. And so we're looking at tie-in energetics and the energetic of the liver in terms of the channel. But in Australia right now, it's not the time of the ox, it's actually the time of the goat. And so it's still tie-in energy, but the channel is small intestine, not liver. So at any rate, it's opposite, it's flipped. But one thing that I thought was really cool too is that the Big Dipper is called the heart of the sky in ancient China. So the Big Dipper's handle points to whatever direction that season is. So right now, we're transitioning from winter in the northern hemisphere, from winter into spring. So the handle's getting ready to point east. But in Australia and in the southern hemisphere, the handle's getting ready to point west. So I just thought that's really interesting, and that was confirmed. So that's how we can really know and understand that the charts are basically just flipped, and that's how I understand it.
I will still need to work with this in my mind, I think, after the class. It's
Right.
it's confusing. It's
Yeah,
confusing.
it is
Lee
tough.
is asking, just to clarify, we are applying this to our day pillar, not year, if we are adults. So again, like I said, this is the most confusing
It
aspect of
is.
the class, I think, for other people. For me, it's the hemispheres, but
Right. Yeah, so the thing is basically from birth till about 20 years old, you're your year animal. And then when you get into your 20s, you become your day animal until you turn 60, and then you become your hour animal. And I think I saw someone say 61. The thing that I think is very interesting about astrology is, like I said at the top of the class, it's not like a black and white light switch. Like all of a sudden, I'm a horse if I'm turning 60. There's an energetic of a little bit of there's some weaving going on. There's intersections. So right now we have a little bit of the snake energy and a little bit of the horse energy at play. Right now, that's what's happening. And it's the same thing when you're around 60 years old. Yeah, you're still a little bit of your day animal and you're becoming your hour animal. So it's not, don't get too hung up on mechanical. And that's something Master was stressed with me from the day one, and I can be mechanical, is remembering that things are fluid. There's a flow there. So that is something to keep in mind too. And then someone might say, well, what about the month animal? What happens to that one? Well, that is an influencer on your whole chart. It's an influencer over your whole life. So that's how the month animal is at play.
Of course, otherwise we will all be the same. Otherwise, without those small influences that coming from around.
Yeah. Right.
Gerda is asking a question. Maybe you have a book. Do you have a book which explains this aspect of the Chinese astrology? Because she asked to recommend the book, and I think maybe we can recommend your book, but I actually don't know if it's in any of the books, the different aspects of the animals.
It's a little bit in my trauma book, but in my shamanism book, I have a whole chapter on stems and branches where I have the entire chart laid out for the northern and southern hemispheres. And I talk about the organs, the animals, the channels, all of that. But if you want to get really detailed information about the animals, I recommend Master Wu's book, The 12 Chinese Animals, and also his Stems and Branches book. Another book I recommend, I don't know why I don't have it right there, but it's Joan Duveen has a book on stems and branches as well. And that's another great book that talks about the animals. So there are some resources out there. There's a few of us who really are trying to emphasize and bring back cosmology, because in ancient China, if you didn't know cosmology, you weren't even considered a physician. And this is why in the Neijing, they talk on and on about cosmology. They talk about the different energetics at play at different times of the year and how we look at the emotions at different times of the year. And this is, I think, is the key to Chinese medicine. To East Asian medicine, you need to know about cosmology. So yes, knowing about the animals, knowing about stems and branches, all of that stuff. And so I have studied with Master Wu for several years, and I still continue to study with him. And I'm still learning and still pulling this apart. So after 15 years, I'm still working with all of this. So it's not something that's a quick learn. It takes a long time, but it really is, I believe you can learn it the best when you apply it to your practice. It's all fun and games to talk about, over dinner or something, but if you're doing your acupuncture based on the animals, on the stems and branches, it is incredibly powerful. I cannot emphasize how wonderful that works. And I believe I taught a course for TCM Academy on stems and branches. So there should be a class in the on the website for that.
Yeah, we have one class with you. You did a couple of years ago a live class we had a mixed class about stems and branches, and it's still available. And after talking about all this important stuff, I can put them aside, and I take the last question. I think it is very important one. Okay. Lisa says that on the slide you had written down ginger tea, but you said green tea. So which is the right one, green tea or ginger tea?
Oh, it's ginger tea. Did I say green tea? I apologize. No, it's ginger tea, because ginger it has the warming properties, but don't forget it activates the spleen and stomach. So that's that earth. So this is why I think it's really interesting why Master Wu recommends ginger tea, because fire generates earth. So it's a great way to take that fiery, wild energy and ground it into the earth and bring it into the body and help you to stay steady and flowing through the year. So I have one last joke. What kind of bread does a horse eat? Thoroughbred. All right, so I wish you all a fun 2026. Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you to TCM Academy. I love working with you all, and I wish you all a beautiful year of the Yang Fire Horse.